Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with my friend and voice expert, Justin Blackman. And we're going to talk about pre-launch. So hi, Justin. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you again.
Yes, so good to see you. Thank you for coming on live with me today. And for anyone who doesn't know you or hasn't had the pleasure of meeting you, tell everyone a little bit about you.
I'm Justin Blackman. I'm a brand voice expert, currently running a couple of different programs. I've got the Brand Voice Academy, which basically teaches copywriters how to mirror our client's voice and also create brand voice guides. And then on the client side business, I create brand voice guides for a lot of businesses. So copywriters can come in and help scale the content and make everything sound like it came from one person. So essentially, I kind of do everything with brand voice and teaching copywriters how to write in different styles.
One of the favorite things that I've learned from you and that you talk about is, can you talk a little bit about how personality is different than voice? Because I think in this like online world, people get it confused. And I love hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the things. It's like everyone has a unique personality, and there are certain elements of personality that you can mirror and mimic, but then there are other things that you can't. There's the authentic you, which really no one else can be. And that's based off of your own personal things, everything from like your first kiss to where you're from, like all these personal details that make up who you are. That's your personality. That's everything. It's about whether you're friendly, approachable, things like that. Your voice is just a verbal identity. It's the verbal element of your personality, and it's the voice. It's the vocabulary. It's the words that you use. It's the tone, which is the emotions that you use, and the cadence, which is the rhythm of your writing. These are things that a writer can come in and emulate and do it authentically and get your message across the way that you'd want to see it. But your personality is really something much bigger. And a lot of times what brands will do is they'll define their voice, but they'll mistakenly do it by putting in elements of their personality. And that's not something that a writer can necessarily do. So like if you say like, oh, we're friendly. Friendly is not a voice. Friendly is a personality. I mean, you've got probably between 300 to 600 friends on Facebook. They're all friends in some point. So when you say friendly, basically, let's say you got 600 friends, you're asking the writer to choose 1 out of 600 and try to nail the one that you're thinking of. So they're not going to be able to do that. But if you define very specific elements, like we write at a 4th grade level or a 7th grade level, a writer can do that. And you can actually measure these elements and define it and help scale it. So anyone writing for you will know the type of language that you're going to use without trying to just guess at this big, larger persona. You're able to give them more measurable elements to stay on track.
Yeah. And I love you talked about, it's kind of like the same thing where you mentioned something along, oh, hi, Liz. Hi, Liz Wilcox is on with us. You mentioned, I know we're supposed to hear talking about pre-launch, but you wrote an email a few weeks ago that I thought was so good. I think I even responded to it because you talked about how to talk about the one where you talked about how we're not the brand.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, as someone who tries, is writing for their own business, I thought that one was super interesting.
Yeah, so there are elements, and this is actually, I was just talking to Angie Coley about this from Copy Chief. So as far as, again, this has to do with personality. It's everything. And there are people that do incorporate all of their life into their brands, and like they live fully on Instagram and all of this stuff. But then there are others more like me who have their business and they have their life. And if you were to create a Venn diagram of like, business Justin and personal Justin, yeah, there's going to be an overlap, but there are also things that remain separate. Not everyone, like the brand can be you, but you don't have to be the brand 100%, or the brand doesn't have to be you 100%. It's a Venn diagram. It's not a circle. So it's not all one and the same. And I think that there are a lot of people who have been talking about like authenticity and vulnerability and just showing up fully in full transparency. And they're giving elements into their life that might not have anything to do with the business. And yes, sometimes that's important for people. And sometimes you're going to make decisions based off of that. But you're also going to wind up not working with someone because of those elements. And it could be a dangerous thing. It can actually be really exhausting to show up in your life 100% and have that brand be you 100%. Sometimes it's okay to have things that are just your brand and are just you. You're allowed to separate them. As a matter of fact, I think that you should, especially if it's something that if you're going to try to scale, if you're going to bring on a team. There are certain elements that a team, that your employees will not be able to ever emulate because they're so authentically you, but they don't have to be part of the brand. So by defining like what characteristics you have in there, you can help employees mirror that and emulate it and be that way. Like, I make some slightly inappropriate jokes, and I make, in my personal life, I make a lot of inappropriate jokes, but I realize, you know what, for my audience, some of these are actually going to be kind of off-putting. So I'm going to show up a little bit differently for my brand. Some people think that you should be yourself 100% of the time. I don't necessarily agree. I like to have that differentiation between me and my brand. And also, if I'm working with other people or other writers, they're able to know like where that line is. Like, all right, that's Justin, but that's not necessarily Pretty Fly Copy or Brand Voice Academy. So being able to have those boundaries means that you can, one, step away and have someone else come in, and two, it's something that you can scale.
Yeah, I love that. And I think too, it's like, it gives you that permission, because I think sometimes, especially I'm a rule follower, so everyone's telling you, you do this, you got to be authentic, right? And it's like figuring out that like deviation of like, no, of course I'm going to be myself, but there's certain things that I'm not bringing online, and I don't have to, and I don't owe it to anyone. And I really think it's like, although we don't like this word in copywriting, but I feel like it's empowering listening to you be like, yeah, you can have. And I think you've helped me a bunch over this last year with like defining my own voice and being okay with some of this, and then and also tapping into the parts that I want to become my brand. So I love that. And so let's talk about, because you're getting ready, you're actually in pre-launch to launch Brand Voice Academy. So tell us, because we're talking a little bit about pre-launch, like what have your launches looked like in the past?
So there's a term that we use around here called the janky Justin launch. And it just being kind of like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a thing. You want to try it? And then in the past, it's actually worked out pretty well. Some of them were lower ticket offers, some of them were higher ticket offers, but I've just sort of put out some ideas to see if people would be interested. And I've got a pretty good success rate with that. And there have been things that have flopped, and that's okay. There's not a response, be like, cool, I'm not going to pursue that. But when I do it, it's been very on the fly. Like, all right, well, hey, let's choose this date. Let's start talking about it and let's give it a go. And it was never really something that I took super seriously until I got to the point where I had to start taking it more seriously. I'm very happy with the programs, very happy with the results, with the content. I put a lot of effort in that, but I hadn't been putting very much effort into the launches, which worked until it kind of didn't. And it's not that my launches have flopped. It's just that I realized that I needed to expand my audience a little bit. I had some list fatigue going on, so I needed to, get new people in there to sell to. So I had to start taking it a little bit more seriously. I hadn't really come up with any plan up until the last launch, when I sort of heard about you and pre-launch and all that, and I was like, oh, I should probably get cracking on this a lot earlier than I have. But primarily, it's mostly been through my email list. I've done a little bit of social posting, primarily on LinkedIn has been okay for me. My groups are small. The launches are only, the programs are only open to about 20 people for the live program. But I hadn't put much effort into it. And I've kind of outgrown that phase where I need to now.
What made you decide that you kind of needed, that you had outgrown it? Like, what was the telltale signs?
So previously the group was capped at like 15 people, and then I got up to 20, and there was a point where I was at like 13 people, and I was like, I want to sell more to this, but I don't know that the buyers for this are actually in my list. Like, I think I was concerned that everyone who was already on my list, and my list was relatively small, had already bought. And that wasn't the case, but I realized that like it might soon be the case if I don't continue to grow my list and if I don't start advertising this more. I was a very well-kept secret for copywriters. I didn't want to be a secret anymore. So I kind of needed to branch out a little bit. So yeah, the catalyst was just starting to worry that that everyone who was on my list, if I didn't focus on list growth, if I didn't focus on reaching a broader audience, that I was no longer going to be selling out the program.
Right. So what kind of made you, I know we're friends too. And so what kind of was like, okay, maybe this pre-launch thing is what I need to do. Like, and what made you decide even to come in and be a part of the program? Because we had worked together very, a little bit, and then you kind of came in.
Yeah. So I think I launched the program twice a year, and I'm actually in pre-launch right now. I think this will be the 7th round, maybe 6th or 7th. I think what I needed to focus on was the buyers have had some consistent themes with what they want to accomplish, but it kind of felt like there's been a turn in the marketplace where people weren't buying courses and education so much, especially now with AI. Education is basically free. Like, you can get the answers to anything just by going to ChatGPT or Google and answering it. But the people want like more of a transformation. They want involvement. They want coaching. So I was like, all right, I need to figure out how to position myself more as a coach and as someone that's worth hiring to do this. So it wasn't just like, hey, how do I sell this? Here's this information that I'm going to present to you. I needed to figure out different messaging that showcased my authority and why I'm the one to teach it. And also my authority grew throughout the years too, as I've worked with bigger and more well-known clients. So the shift was really trying to figure out how to go from positioning this to like a traditional course to coaching, and making it a little bit more personal.
Can you talk about like what you liked inside the program? Like what was helpful? What was life-changing, Justin?
Well, I mean, you're an absolutely fantastic teacher. You're just fun, you're approachable. It's just kind of like sitting around a coffee table and getting great information. And you're incredibly hands-on, where when people had questions, like we can stop the presentation for a little bit and just talk. We can get into some more specific stuff. You can work on the stuff with us. So that level of involvement, it's something that I try to do, but it's also something that I look for when I join courses. And you absolutely had this program. You're kind of over delivering your just the personal involvement and your just your interest in helping everyone succeed. That's something I was looking for, and that's not something that you get in necessarily a pre-recorded course or some other elements. So it was that live involvement that really sold it for me.
Yeah, no, it's really a big part of it, and what I love to do, right? I think it's hard. I think it's hard to, especially with messaging and copy and like content, like all these things, like creating it in a vacuum is really tough. I actually messaged Kevin Rogers last week, our mutual friend, and I was like, I need to hire me sometimes, because it's hard to do it, even though this is what I teach. It's just hard to do these things for yourself. And I think, you're an experienced marketer and copywriter, but like actually sitting down and figure out like what messages need to go out, what order do they need to go out. And I know that was really important to you as well. Could you maybe speak to that, like the structure of the program and what needed to be sent and when?
Yeah, so that was huge for me. It could be overwhelming, especially when you realized how early you really should get ahead of launching with the pre-launch, with peppering the right seeds and the right message. You literally have a calendar for it, where like, hey, on this day, send out a message about this. On this day, send out a message about this. If you show up on a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live on this day, it's a schedule. It's pretty much foolproof. If you follow it, it will work. It's easy to say like, I don't need to do that. But sometimes it's good to realize that maybe you're not the exception. And that like, hey, if this is set up this way by an expert, maybe it's done this way for a reason. It's probably a better system than no system. So let's follow this. And it basically just makes it so easy. Like, you literally say like, write an email about this. Okay, cool, I can do that. It takes away the decision. And it's like I sit down and write an email. I've got an idea, but I don't really know if this is good. Let me try 6 different drafts. 3 hours later, maybe you have an idea. You're like, no, write about this. Like, oh, okay, I can do that. 10 minutes later, I have a finished email. So it reduces all the decisions and it tells me what to do. And it's just so much easier that way.
Yeah, it really is. And I know you're we haven't even talked about like you being in the middle of your pre-launch now, how it's going, but can you talk about your last launch? And then if you have anything to say about how it's going this time too, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. So because I have started to open it up more to a broader audience, I also know that my list is going to be my main source of buyers. And they're the ones who I want to focus my attention on. So I do an early bird wait list where it's not open to the whole list, but if you tag yourself and say that, hey, I'm interested in this, you get a specific set of emails, which I write live, and I just, I write them and then I send them, and it's about every other day. So it's got some early bird bonuses and some special things that do have an expiration date before I start marketing it to the main list and also on social. So when you do that, the price doesn't change, but you get bonuses. I already underpriced my program, so I don't ever want to lower the price, but I do throw on a little bit of extra, some extra time, some extra bonuses that you might not get on the main list. So there is an incentive to get on earlier and to tag yourself and to get this information. But I also realized that's going to be my biggest source of clients. So that's where I want to put my main attention. These are the people that have been waiting for it to open. They put their name on a waiting list. And that's where I really want to focus. Not only that, the conversations that I have with people throughout the early bird turn into the main messaging for the main launch. Because every season, it seems like there's a different factor. I think last round, I had grown my authority a lot. And one of the biggest things, this is uncomfortable for me to say, but like people wanted to be me. They wanted to be the next Justin. And I kind of had to figure out a way to market that. And, basically I said, I don't want you to be the next Justin. I want you to be the first you. And talked about that and basically focused the messaging on that. This time, I think people are craving a little bit more interaction, and they're also craving a direct ROI. So I'm talking about that. Like I need something that I know is going to pay for itself. Everyone has a drawer or a bookmark folder full of courses that they bought and never used. So I'm talking about how this program is designed to get you a specific ROI. And this messaging is coming from the early bird feedback and the conversations that I'm having, the fears, the concerns, or the excitement that people have about the workshop. So by doing this small select early bird and not advertising the early bird, but only keeping it within my list, I kind of get some private message mining going. And that's going to turn into my main message for the bigger launch later on.
Yeah, I love, and it does like so much of what we do in pre-launch informs our actual launch.
Yeah.
And so I talk about too, like if you wait until launch time and then you're like, oh crap, there's so, and I was even thinking this morning, like I've been sending out a lot of emails. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to say. Like it's like actually when you know what you need to say, it actually becomes like you have so much, and then you're getting feedback that adds on to it. So I love that. And last round you sold out in your early bird pre-launch, wasn't it 50%?
No, so early bird was at least 50% last time. It was 20 spots, and I think I had sold 10 or possibly even 11 spots in early bird last round, which one made it significantly easier and less stressful to go into the main launch, knowing that I was going to be okay. And it gave me the confidence, and also, when I got in private calls with people like who are interested, I could drop some names of people who are already in the course, and it attracted other people. So yes, that absolutely helped. It was a big win, and so I'm hoping to repeat it right now. I'm halfway through, and I think I've got 6 spots sold so far.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
especially because your last round, you sold as all of your spots, right? Like, and that was your biggest launch in terms of spots that you sold. When you started adding in this like pre-launch part, if I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Yeah, it's so every round of this program I've had has sold out. And I slowly been increasing the amount. So the first time I did it, it was 6 people as a test, and then I did 13, then it was 15 for a while. Now it's up to 20. So yeah, it's been selling out. I intentionally keep it small, so there's more interaction. I give away a lot of one-on-one time, so I don't want to completely destroy my calendar for
Yeah,
the
I hear you.
8 weeks.
That's exactly how my program is too. It's like there's only so many calls, so much editing I can do and
Yeah,
like support people. So
yeah.
if anyone is thinking like about the pre-launch or they're kind of like program and they're on the fence, like what would you tell them?
The pre-launch has made the whole program so less stressful. Again, knowing that I'm 50% sold out before the main launch, it's pretty good. I mean, one, it helps the messaging, but two, it gives me room to breathe. I'm not in panic mode. And it's also given me permission to keep the launch window shorter. I think the first time I did it, I did 2 weeks, and it was exhausting. And it sold out, but it was exhausting. Now I do it in 1 week, and I might even do it in 5 days, to give myself the weekend off. It allows me to, the pre-launch has given me direct access to the most interested buyers, the most curious buyers. It's allowed me to collect all the objections and concerns and just worries that I need to overcome. It's allowed me to adjust the pricing, raise the pricing, and it's allowed me to add in additional bonuses that address things that people are looking for. So I know when I do my main launch, everything's going to be dialed in. I know if I can or should repurpose emails. I know the messaging. I know the main concern. I know the positioning of everything. This has all come from the feedback that I'm getting in the pre-launch, when just the importance of selling is less. It's less heavy. It's less severe. It gives me a longer time frame. It makes it way less pressure, and it's really just made everything so much easier.
Well, it makes me so happy. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you being part of the program and taking time to go live with me today. And for anyone who is interested in, in pre-launch and voice, like tell them all about what you're actually offering in pre-launch right now.
Yeah, so if you go to brandvoiceacademy.com, you'll see a program called Brand Voice Visionary, which is the most intense and in-depth personal brand voice training that I have, where you learn how to mirror a brand voice precisely as a writer, and you also learn how to create brand voice guides. Additionally, you learn how to create a brand voice from scratch. So if you're working with a new business that's looking to figure out their foundation, we teach you a great process for how to do that. It's one of my favorite things to do. So we have elements with that. If you get on, you can join the wait list. I'll add you to the email list, and I'll send you information where there are additional bonuses going on right now. There's a super secret checkout page that you can't access unless I send you the link. But you'll see some of the additional bonuses in there. Additionally, one of the things that is great with the early bird window is that there's an extended payment plan. So it gives you an additional month to spread out the payments if that's a concern for you.
Awesome. Well, I'll drop that link in here after. And if anyone's listening and or interested in the pre-launch plan program, it opens up September 25th. And thank you, Justin. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.